So we'll call our meeting to order again. First up, we're looking for additions, deletions to the agenda. Are there any?
I would like to add just a conversation under unfinished business about the city manager position.
Very good. Anything else? Anyone else? Okay, with that, we'd entertain a motion to amend the agenda and accept it as amended.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Last chance for comments. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. Motion is carried. We have an agenda. Roll has been taken.
Yes, thank you.
Seeing is now here, I'm sure you just caught that. So if everyone would please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Next on the list is, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 24, 2022, and the May 31, 2022. The 24th was a regular meeting, the 31st is a special meeting. So the minutes of those two meetings.
So moved.
Support.
Got a motion and support. Any comments or questions, corrections, additions, or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor would be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. We've approved the minutes. Next item is a hearing, or under hearings, we'll consider a resolution to reschedule a public hearing scheduled for June 14, 2022 at 6 p.m. to June 28, 2022 at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the agenda allows. The purpose is to review the proposed changes to Section 6.2 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the consumption of alcoholic beverages in public places and to allow for said consumption in accordance with the city ordinance and state law. Your pleasure.
So moved.
Support.
And a motion and support. Any comments or questions? Background by staff?
We just have to have the correct amount of notice days, and we missed that, so we couldn't hold a public hearing, so we're asking for a reschedule of that, so we make sure we hit the correct notice dates. That's
Very
why we're
legitimate,
asking-
very legitimate
that's-
reason to
That's
move
why we're
this.
asking for it. And we apologize for missing that, but obviously we gotta hit the right days.
Better to do it right.
Yep.
Anybody else? Last chance? I believe we had a motion in the support, so all those in favor would be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed is no. Okay, we have rescheduled that hearing. Thank you. Moving down to E, request for purchase. We have consideration of a resolution to approve a request for purchase from the Library Corporation, TLC, for an annual website hosting and software subscription in the amount of $12,846 for 5 years for a grand total of $64,230, and to also approve the related agreement for services and authorize the library director to sign the agreement on behalf of the city. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
Have motion support. Is there any comment from staff?
This is the contract and the same company that we've used for the last 5 years. The services they provide have been great for the library. The services are a little different than our normal website. Ours is more of a static website. Theirs is more of an interactive website for the different services they offer through the MCAT, not MCAT, but their library sharing and such. So I don't know if there's anything else that, Chris, that you wanted to add to that?
You said this is basically a renewal, or what was the price in the past?
This is about almost 1,200 more than it was previously.
Over the 5 years?
Yeah, per
year.
year. Per year. It was like 11,000 something in the previous year.
Taking the spotlight.
So there is just a slight, one part of the reason why there's an increase this year, there's a couple of different components to this. And when the library went to the cloud-based service, there is now not an additional charge, just the cloud-based service is a little bit more. So this is the normal library software, which is for like all of the library catalog, basically the online cataloging, plus for them to host the cloud subscription. So since we went to the cloud middle of the contract last year, now with the renewal, it is a little bit more because we have that cloud-based subscription in there too.
So we're no longer running on our own server, is that
We're
correct?
still, yeah, we still have backup on our server, but the library is mainly on the cloud. And their library program is on the cloud, their website.
Okay. And was that forced upon us? Is that the way they do business now? I mean, many companies are going that way, I understand, but or was that our choice to do that?
I'm guessing that's our choice. That was a couple of years ago. I wasn't. I
Okay.
guess that's the question.
And are other libraries using the same system?
I do believe that they are using, I guess this is word here, I'd say, I do believe that the ones that are on the Mel, is it Mel? The library sharing, database, they are using this system as well, as part of the online catalog.
So it's just an online catalog, or is this online books available too? Is that the component of that?
I'm sorry, what was
The online books, like you can go online and download a book into your reader or your iPad.
That's a
Is
little
that
bit
this?
different.
Or is that,
We ended up going over to the cloud because we did have two servers before, the web server and the data server, and we were with the city on that. But there was a problem with security for the entire city, and it was determined that the library needed to go on their own,
Independent.
you know.
And it allowed us to reduce a server, because we had a server that was specifically an on-site server that was specifically library. Now we got rid of that because we have the cloud.
okay, thank you. Any more questions? We had a motion, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, with that, all those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed to be no? Motion is carried. Next up, resolutions. We have to consider a resolution to approve the budget amendments as presented by Finance to allow for corrections and reallocations. Your pleasure.
Move to adopt. Move to adopt.
Okay,
Support.
got motion support, comments? Curtis? There you are.
Yep, I decided I'd just stay, so. So just a couple, kind of just run through them real quickly. The first one we've kind of talked about a couple of times was, it's not necessarily additional expenditures, it's just where we're allocating them this year based on new information that we were given. So it does make the city commission budget $27,000 more. This is to cover the insurance costs. We were able to, we did get some additional revenue in this year from the state as well, so we were able to get that, a revenue budget adjustment as well, so that the net change to the fund balance is zero for that one. And then for, letter B, we kind of talked about this one a little bit too when we were talking about the budget, where some of the IT costs in the past have been budgeted in a couple of different departments, including the city manager. We decided this year we're gonna move all the expenditures into one department for IT and for the finance umbrella so that we could have everything in one spot. Well, so we got the expenditures in the right spot, but we still have the budget, for those items in different spots. So this is to consolidate that. Again, no change to the fund balance, it's just a change of where we're recording it. Same thing with letter C, it's just, these are all the public works departments, some of them were over budget, some of them were under budget as far as where the public works allocations went this year. Public works in total is still under budget, it's just getting them into the different buckets, and this is pretty common that year over year, we don't always hit, we hit in total, but not always in the individual departments. Letter D is for the change, or the allocation from major streets to local streets, so we do this every single year as well. At the end of the year, if we have additional funds that we've received in major streets that we didn't need, we allocate a portion of those to our local streets in order to cover those. In the last 2 years, 2 years ago, we did $165,000, this last year we did $225,000. At this time, we're gonna propose $245,000. We don't actually need to make the actual change yet until we can see the final year-end numbers. So we won't exceed the 245, we wanted to make sure the budget amount was there so that we didn't have a budget overage. So we're setting aside 245 right now, we might not use all that, we'll know that once we have our final year-end numbers in, but that's there in case we, up to that amount is what we can use if we need.
Curtis, I think there's a correction on there. D says to increase major streets by 245 and to increase local streets by 245.
So we're increasing the expenditures in major street and increasing the revenue in local streets, because we're transferring it from major to.
Revenue budget expense. I see, thank you.
Yep.
Stand corrected, thank you.
And then the last one is an increase in the refuse collection budget. This was for, the equipment usage charge this year was higher than what we had budgeted for, that's the majority of it, and then there's a little bit for salaries and fringes that was allocated from Public Works to the revenues budget. So citywide, this doesn't actually this wasn't any expenditure, like this isn't additional spending from the citywide, this is just how much of Public Works got allocated to this particular fund this year based on usage, so. Those are
Okay, thank you.
Question for you.
Yes.
You give us this, and I was wondering if you keep a master list, so you do this one month, you do this the next month, but do you have, and you just take and cut and paste, so if we go back and we said, what happened this year? You have a master list.
As far as budget amendments?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have that kind of available, so
Yep.
just at your fingertips, we can,
Yep,
if
we have
there's
an
questions, we can go.
Yep, we have an Excel spreadsheet that has the original budget and then every budget amendment that's been approved,
Yeah,
kind of
okay.
going forward, so that we can make sure that we verify the system at the end of the year.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor would be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed is no. Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Curtis. Moving on to agreements. Consideration of a resolution to approve change order number 1 for the 2021 sidewalk replacement program, increasing the Whoops, did I skip one? Oh, it's ordinances, I'm sorry, yes. H1, consideration of the introduction of ordinance number 828 to amend the zoning map of the city of Elma as it appears in section 32-32 of the ordinances of the city of Elma to rezone the parcel number 29-51-021-290-00 lot 7, Elmwood Park subdivision. And we're going from R2, which is a two-family residential district, to B2, general business district. Your pleasure.
Move to approve the introduction.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion to support.
Yep, the current owner
I think we
of,
talked about
the-
this,
yep,
so-
yep, the current owner of the parcel. It's a parcel that's just south of the current self-storage buildings, right there's, south of Sun Up Party Store. The empty lot there used to be a driveway into the property owned by Total there. It's currently obviously zoned R2. He would like to have the zoning to the B2 so he can expand the self-storage business there on that lot. So that's the request, why he's requesting the change in zoning.
And it is contiguous.
Yes, it is
It's contiguous to the B2, so you don't need a conditional rezoning.
That is correct, yes. Yep.
Okay, there's questions. Hearing none. All those in favor would be yes.
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 Any opposed is no. We have set the hearing. Thank you. Now to agreements. We'll consider a resolution to approve change order number 1 for the 2021 sidewalk replacement program, increasing the contract amount by $4,879.65 for a total of $72,359.65, and also to approve final pay app number 2 in the amount of $7,417.98 to J&N Concrete Incorporated, which will close out the project. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
Motion support. Any additional
This-
background?
Nope,
or-
this is it for
Dave, or-
the, everything closing out for the 2021 sidewalk replacement program. So we'll be starting up the 2022 one soon, so, or coming back to you with that very soon, so. 23 is underway, so,
Okay, very good.
not stop.
Any questions? Last chance. All those in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed would be no. Looks like the motion is carried. Thank you. Moving down to reports of officers, boards, and committees. We have before us reports from the Alma Transit, May 2022, building permits report for May 2022, the police department for May 2022, the planning commission draft minutes of June 6, 2022, the airport authority draft minutes of May 12, 2022, a finance report, interim city manager's report, and the Gratiot Area Water Authority verbal report. Your pleasure.
Eric, do you want yours pulled?
Yep, we got some items we can discuss.
And my verbal report, if you could pull that too, Michelle.
Okay.
If you're making
I
a
move
motion.
to approve receiving 1 through 6.
Okay, anyone else?
Support.
Okay, I think we got a motion support. All those in favor would be yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any opposed, no? We have received the first 6. Number 7 is the interim city manager's report. Mr. Ripley.
Yes, we got some positive things happening and some other things to kind of,
I'm sorry, oh, yes. You'll entertain a motion for this first.
Motion received.
Oh, move to.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'll move to receive.
Support.
Got a motion support. Now, go ahead. All right, here we go.
all right. Got some positive things moving along, and then just some briefs of the community on some the progress we're making with the going too many projects back. The lead and copper, and then it's coming, some other briefs on some other departments. First, it's on our agenda for this evening, the City of Elma's American Rescue Plan, ARPA monies. We're requesting on the agenda tonight to dedicate $82,000 of those funds toward the Elma Park restroom rebuild in Conservation, Wright Park, and Riverside Park. Originally, the commission might remember, we were looking at taking $247,000 from those funds to pay for the additional costs due to COVID for the project. We reached out to the Gratiot Community Foundation to check in on where we were at with our Herb Luth endowment. For those that don't know, Herb Luth he owned Medler Electric, and he left the city of Alma an endowment of a little over $500,000, and that endowment has generated at this point $178,000 to be used in city of Alma parks for new construction, maintenance, rebuilds, whatever you'd like to do in parks. Also on the agenda today is to request those funds to be put toward the park bathroom project, which helps us offset those requested dollars to the ARPA money. The ARPA dollars then we can use to other priority capital projects within the city. So that's a helpful situation there, and we have Mr. Luth to thank for that. Just a quick breakdown for the commission and those that are watching. Our original bid amount for the project when we applied for the grant was $346,000. Well, when COVID hit, construction costs went about at the beginning of it like 40% and that hit us right on the money of when we were actually going to go out for a bid. Our bids came in at the low bid at $593,000. So obviously that's when we discussed using our own ARPA money to offset that cost. So what we're proposing is to obviously we have the grant $173,000 from the Michigan DNR, our general fund contribution that we talked about at the beginning, using the Herb Luth endowment of $178,000, and then our ARPA funds of $82,000. And we may not have to use all those 82. That's just to make sure we got a cushion we don't have to come back and ask for this. Since this project's being done in this fiscal year, we have to request these ARPA funds and dedicate them within this fiscal year. So that's why we're asking for the 82. All said and done, that gives us $606,000 to close out this project. If we may not need all that, but we just want to be on the safe side with that. So again, for those at home, if you're looking to dedicate monies when you're looking to donate, the Community Foundation is a great way to set aside some things, and we really do thank Herb for this, because it's been a huge help in how we may be able to use the rest of our ARPA monies. Along those same lines, the Gratiot County appropriated $274,000 to the city of Alma for our downtown parking lots, drainage, and alleys. And we also submitted a proposal along with that for the lead and copper investigation. The county has been gracious enough to allow this board to decide how they'd like to split up that 274. We can put it 50-50. We could appropriate to just one of the projects, whatever this board would like to do. We just have to let the county know how we'd like to proceed before we move forward with any one of those, using those dollars for any one of those projects. Don't have to allocate it in this fiscal year, but just something to keep in the front of your minds as we go forward.
Question, that
Yeah.
247 you mentioned that they
I'm sorry,
gave us,
274.
274, I'm sorry.
274. Nope.
Transpose that. That was not an additional sum, right? So
Well,
our total from that
the total is
program
500,000.
Still the 500,000.
Yes, yep. They originally gave us 226 for the water main on State Street. And we went back and asked for these two projects, the parking lot alley project and drainage project, and the lead and copper project. And what we were asking for is half of the request of $1.2 million. We were putting in $1.2 million of our own, if we could get that, but alas, that's what they had left, and we were only able to secure 274. Since we asked for the two different projects, they have left that open to us and how we'd like to use that 274. So, but yes, we were looking to hopefully hit both those programs, and but there was not enough money to go around.
Okay, and just to remind everybody playing along at home, that we were initially led to believe that that money from the county was going to be distributed based on population. Hence our rather large request that we put in, and it apparently wasn't done that way. It was done on a first come, first served basis, because Ashley, I think their allocation was 600,000 and some change, while ours for the city of Elmo was 500,000, so. Little bit of an equity there, so when you're talking to your county commissioners, please ask them about that. Okay, sorry to
No, that's
interrupt
fine.
there,
No,
but go
that's
ahead.
fine. No, that's
please.
fine.
Continue.
That's why we're putting this out there to discuss those things. So I just wanted to keep that in the forefront of everyone's mind as we move forward to work on both those projects. The main one I wanted to have some discussion with tonight, we've had a few discussions about this, is our neighborhood street millage. And what we've put in the newsletter and as part of the attachments is some different options the commission to consider. We're not to take any action tonight. We just kind of like to get a feel for what you'd like to do, so we have that ready for you for the next meeting, because the clerk does need to get the ballot language down to the county clerk in the month of July for the November ballot. Options are, currently, in the past, we have asked the voters of the city for our neighborhood street millage of a 2.5 mil, and that's the initial option one. That total millage would generate, the first year, $460,000. Those dollars would be used for street reconstruction, and street reconstruction only, and ancillary things to the street, like say, curbs, those sort of things for the street. Year one would be Richmond from Pine Avenue to Euclid Avenue. Year two would be Moyer from Hawthorne Street to Hubble Street. Year three would be Charles from Vassar Street to the rail trail. And year four would be Riverside from Marshall to South State. And the reason there's only 4 streets in there, that amount of money, that's what we project could pay for reconstruction of that many streets. So that's why those are, there's only 4 as opposed, and it is a 6-year request that would be going out for the street millage. So that's option one. Option two, we've had a lot of discussion about looking at what we could generate with a 1 mil extra request for maintenance. So what the second option would be to send out a ballot language for 3.5 mil. That would generate in the first year $644,000. 2.5 of those mills would be used for those streets that we just mentioned for reconstruction, and then additional mill, which would be $184,000 per year, we would use for maintenance techniques such as crack sealing, overbinding, chip seal, seal coat, hot mix, patch repair, wedges, mill resurface overlays, those types, depending on what the street needed. Those dollars could be used for those maintenance techniques. Option three would be to have ballot language for the 2.5, and then an additional ballot language for 1 mil for that maintenance program. As we mentioned, would generate $184,000. That would be used for those techniques that we just mentioned, and the 2.5 for the reconstruction of those streets that we mentioned previous. Option four, you put out your 2.5 mil, and instead of putting something out, either increasing and asking for 3.5 or an additional 1 mil, that within a year or 2 years after, do some evaluations at what the commission would like to see for PACER ratings, meaning what the surface level standard you would like to possibly hold within the city, across the city, and what you might need from a maintenance millage to attain that. So if you wanted to keep the streets at a PACER rating of 7, would the 1 mil levy do that for you at a maintenance, or would you need to ask for a 2 mil levy for maintenance to hit that goal? But those are some of the options that are out there for us to look at. Obviously, without this, those neighborhood streets don't get redone. And we have within this budget, we have allocated some of our major street funds into the local streets to try some of these techniques on some streets this fiscal year. But we only put around $50,000 into that this year to try a couple of these, to start moving down that path. So just open that up for discussion and everyone's thoughts.
Just to clarify, the current ballot
According to, yes,
Right.
that's correct.
And they're subject to the Headley rollback,
Right.
the
So it's-
Truth and
I just
Taxation Act, because every year the millage rate goes down slightly. And it's really unfortunate because it's technically not a renewal, because that 2.5 mils in year 5 or 6 is probably 2.3 mils or whatever. But it's the same thing that was passed before. And it's unfortunate that you can't say renewal, because that's basically what it is. We tried to put language in, or I did, that notifies the voters that it is a new millage because of the expiration of the old millage that was previously passed, and hopefully they'll pick that up. But I think that's all we can do at this point.
You couldn't put terminology in there, it said it was a 5-year renewal, because again, that's.
Correct.
you-
Because it's no longer 2.5 mils. If it was still 2.5 mils in year 5, then it would be a renewal. And some of those levies aren't subject to Headley. That one is, and that's why, like, I think the library, I don't think the library, the millage for the library, I don't think that's subject to the rollback.
But aren't the millage rates for year 1 of that first cycle the same as year 1 as the second cycle, year 2,
Correct.
year 2, 3,
That's
3?
correct.
So that's why I was thinking if you do it in a 5-year span, you could say it's a renewal, not a year-to-year renewal, but a group renewal of that 5-year basis, because year 1 of the year,
I
of the
get your
first cycle.
logic, I get your logic, and it
But
makes
no.
perfect sense to me.
But no.
What they say. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's terrible, because I think a lot of voters, they look at that and go, what, is a new millage? I thought we already had one.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, because if it wasn't for that minuscule rollback, you could call it a renewal. And that's too bad. I mean, because you don't want to mislead the voters, but on the other hand, sometimes you can mislead them the other way, and that's kind of what happens here. So we try to explain it and say, hey, you passed this before. I mean, and hopefully they understand. And I guess that's up to us too, as far as educating, the public and whatever, but I get you, Dan. I wish we could.
If we, like, for example, option 3, can you write it in such a way, much like we do with a major street, where it's like a one-way valve, right? We can go major street, if there's stuff left over, put it in the local streets. But we can't take local street money and put major. Can we do a similar kind of thing? Let's say we do the 3.5 and then the one for upkeep, and we only use 3 mils, we have half a mil left over. Can we move that down to just the repair kind of piece? Is it or is it like, you can't take money from one cookie?
Well, if
jar
you
and put it
specify
in?
what you're gonna use it for, you have to use it for that purpose.
Yeah, but you could, like, if you did two things, if you had a 2.5 mil for street construction, repair, and maintenance, and an additional
Right.
one for maintenance.
Okay. If you
As
write
long
it
as
in a way
maintenance was
that,
in the first one,
you write it in a way that
Yeah,
allows
yeah,
that to
then, yeah,
happen.
you'd be all
Okay,
right.
that's what I wanted to know. is
yeah,
can you do that?
as long as you
Or
state
is it
in
real
the,
lockstep?
in the
Okay.
ballot language
Yeah,
that what
okay.
it's for, you gotta use it for what it's for.
Gives us a little more flexibility, I would assume.
Yeah, give you a little leeway.
What we have to look at on these, unfortunately, is what is most likely to pass. The bottom line is we need at least a 3.5 mils. If we go to the option 1, the 2.5, we've got a fairly good chance of getting that passed. If we go to option 2, just putting the whole thing into a 3.5, if that goes down, we have nothing, okay? Then we're sunk. Option 3 is, without using the technical terms, it's a renewal of the 2.5 plus an additional 1 point. I don't know statistically anymore how those things measure up, whether they have a better chance of passing than doing the 3 and the option 2 all at once. I really just don't know that. That's what's hard on this, is trying to figure out what's most likely to get passed in the eyes of the
Yeah,
voter.
there's no.
That is true, and there's no way to know, although we can look at history, and our road millage has been very, very strongly supported
Yes.
by the average voter, by the voters of the city, so my inclination would be to jump right to the 3.5, start the maintenance as soon as we can, you know, every dollar you put into maintenance now, and forgive me, Dave, save us $7 down the road, something like that. I forget what number you told us.
It depends on,
But there's a multiplier effect to these maintenance dollars.
Yeah, there is.
Really, long-term savings is huge. So that's why I would lean that direction. I think there's strong support, and those dollars are so well spent, and the return on those dollars, the investment is just really good. I think it would pass, but, you know, that's one man's opinion here.
I agree with you on that. I think that is the best option. Like I say, the only trouble with it is if that goes down, you lose everything and we don't fix any streets. But people have been complaining about streets long enough that I think if we market this as this is what we need and we're gonna do it right and this is gonna save us money.
Yeah.
If we put that out there,
As you recall, we talked about this 2.5 mils before, and when this started 40 years ago, Dave? 35 years ago. At that point, we did, you know, that 2.5 mils bought us a mile of street, 3/4 of a mile of street. Today, it buys us a quarter of a mile, less than a quarter of a mile. That same millage buys us that much less.
yeah.
It's you almost have to do something to improve that ratio, because we're, at this point, 35 years later, we're now redoing a street that was part of the original first program 35 years ago, and there's a lot of streets that were never touched from this program. So it's not getting better, it's not getting easier. It's been put off. I think now's the time to bite the bullet, would be my opinion. And try and do a little bit more, at least.
I mean, I agree with you with the option two. I think it's a viable option. I think if, to what Roger was saying, people are complaining about the streets. If we add 1 mil and 1 mil is not gonna fix the streets, people are gonna be even more upset. So I think at least option 4 at least gives us the ability to say, you know what, 1's not gonna cut it. Cause quite frankly, I just don't feel like pushing out a mill just to tread water a little bit longer. If we're gonna fix it, fix it. And so that's where I lean a little bit to that, because like Dave, we've had conversations about this. 1 is going to get us closer, but it's not going to get us all the way. And I think Eric, you put, 2 years out or something. Can it be shorter than that?
You could do a special, but you'd pay for a special election. You could do a special election within a year. Or you could wait for the general election, which would be 2 years.
Because I agree with you, Greg. The longer we wait, the more this is going to cost. But if it's still not going to get us to the finish line, then what's the point? And I think at some point we need to let people in Elma decide: do you want nice roads or don't you? If you don't, then don't complain about it, right? Or let's pay for them and let's get them fixed.
Are you saying, I'm just, option 4, is that 2.5 like it was?
And then-
It's 2.5 like it was, just so we can maintain what we're currently doing. But also, hey, what millage rate is going to make your job successful?
Maybe
1
it's
is going
2
to tread water.
Maybe it's 2 mils.
Is it 1.2? Is it 1.5? If it's, I would hate to have it be like 1.2 and we're like, why didn't we just do that instead of trying to find that little bit, 2/10?
Good point.
Now, if it's 4, then that's a different conversation. We need to figure out what we're doing. But
I suspect it's probably closer to 4 on the top of the 2.5.
yes,
And that's why I think that would be a struggle to pass.
correct.
And an incremental, 3.5 seems like a compromise to me. There's going to be unhappy people no matter what. These roads are deteriorating faster than we can maintain them or improve them. That's just a fact of life today. And I don't know if it's 6 mils. I don't know if you've done the math, Dave. But I suspect it's at least 6.
it really depends if my opinion matters. If you look at 3.5, it's better than nothing, don't get me wrong. 1 extra mil gets you about 184,000. But based on that presentation I gave a couple months ago, 184, if you're looking at overlays, it won't get you an overlay on the full street just based on current construction projects. If it's a smaller size block, you could probably do an overlay. And that's where it would come up with, that's where option 4 came up with, is if the commission as a whole wants to bump the levels of 4s and 3 PASER ratings up, maintain a level 5, you would look at probably minimum of a 2 mil for a maintenance. And Greg is correct with some of the maintenance techniques can extend useful lives. So a two millage for, maintenance would truly probably be more appropriate, and you're not gonna get above water, your nostrils stay above it, but it's
Yeah.
better than nothing. But 184 on a street would get you some patches, get you significant seal coats, but if you're looking at some overlays or mill and fills, it doesn't get you as far as where you think you're gonna go, simply because you have to update the sidewalk ramps anytime you do a street project, you have to have that updated ADA compliance, so there's ancillary costs that go with those different maintenance techniques, but the 1 mil would be a stopgap, it's definitely better than nothing. But a proactive approach would take some time and consideration between the commissioners, residents alike, some public hearings, find out what are you willing to pay for, what does it look like, because as everyone's mentioned, everything is a level of service. It's one thing to complain about the roads, it's another thing to, okay, here's the proactive approach to try to get there, what does that cost look like? So that's basically it. Sorry to look at more, but that's the discussion.
But I don't necessarily disagree. I think the problem is with waiting the 2 years is you have a new commission. We don't know what the crystal ball says. What are folks going to do? Strategically, it makes sense. I don't know. Do we set up a citizen task force to work with Dave and advise the commission so you kind of keep it alive as you go through the transition, so the commission hears from citizens saying, this is what we want, this is what we think we can do. If there's a way to make sure you keep it alive, so that the next commission, whoever they are, doesn't just let it go, because, well, we passed this 2 years ago and everyone forgets. Given the attention span of where we are as a country, I'm thinking we want to make sure we
Well,
keep it in front of folks.
And I would echo that with our history, because we've talked about this, doing this, last 2 times we renewed this, at least I believe. We talked about, 2 years from now, we're gonna go back and talk about a maintenance addition, putting it on the ballot, and we never did it. So there's a real danger it will never occur, because other things, squirrels, and we're done.
The other downside.
You
about-
could still do the 3.5 today and come back in 2 years, set up a task force in 2 years, come back to the voters with another 2 mil for maintenance. I mean, nothing stops you from doing that.
Or
I think people don't mind paying for things if they think they're getting something for their money. People don't like paying for things and they think they're not getting anything. These are clear dollars people see when they're driving around town. They see the roads improved. Everybody wants their roads improved. I think it's a good value for the taxpayer, quite honestly. It's a direct impact to the city.
The thing I like better about option 2 than option 4 is that option 4 puts any of this additional maintenance out 2 years. So we've lost that 2 years. We could be getting started. And who knows what's going to happen with prices. But if we go with option 2 and we start with the 3.5, we now have that additional 1 mil to start with. And we can do a street and say, hey, here's what this can look like. If we can come back and get another whatever we're going to need in a couple of years, we can show them such and such a street. This is one that we did that overlay thing on, and this street is now moved up to a Paisley rating of 7 instead of a 3, and it's going to last. And that's the kind of thing that an additional millage would do. My 2 cents.
I mean, I think if we voted today, I would obviously I think I would be 2. I just think that the 4 is at least worth conversation. It doesn't have to be 2 years, right? You can do a special
Well,
election.
yeah, special election is so much money, I wouldn't
How
feel
much is it?
comfortable
I'm curious. I
adding
don't know. I haven't been a part of one.
Probably 10, isn't it, to run an election?
Yeah, that's,
The special election that we did for the school, our part of it was right around $5,000.
So the school paid
5,000.
half, right?
The
Or
school
the school
pays,
pays-
the school pays for that part of it.
Okay. So our cost would
Everything
be.
is charged to the school if there's
Okay.
only a school issue on the ballot.
I don't know.
So we're looking at about $5,000.
5,000 to potentially get another 180. What's 184? And again, I think it's just worth at least looking into. And I think maybe what you're saying, Greg, is probably the best solution. You approve the 1.5, but with the option to, hey, we're going to look to increase this or maybe add another one at some point to get us to where we need to get to. And maybe that is a special election, or maybe that is, hey, this 1 mil is getting us where we need to go. In 2 years, then we can without spending, I mean, you hate to wait 2 years for $5,000. You're gonna spend that tenfold just in the increase in material cost by waiting that, instead of just paying for the special election.
Why did we decide on 3.5 now? Was that just because we were afraid people wouldn't pass it if it was a little bit higher, or?
I think
is
it
that
was
what we were
trying to get a
thinking?
yes,
Because it
right?
was 2.5.
No, I know that, but why
That
did
would-
we,
yeah.
why didn't we say 4 or
Yeah.
4.5, or, I mean, I just wondered what the conversations or the logic was just.
In my recollection, it was just a number that was kind of pulled out of thin air, just
That's
an
what I-
improvement over what we had before,
Yeah.
because the dollars at 2.5 we're seeing went from doing 3/4 of a mile down to less than a quarter.
Yeah.
So to give some kind of improvement, and I think the 1 mil came from the fact that for the last couple cycles, we've talked about adding an additional 1 mil
Right.
for just maintenance, and that's, in my recollection, that's kind of how those things fit together. 3.5 is not a magic number, it doesn't,
Yeah,
it just was a number that we put in there.
But I do think, Audrey, that was the concern, what you said.
what would
I think,
pass.
I think
will
Dave,
pass.
I mean, Dave's looking at this thing, and you know, I'd like a lot more than 2.5, but God, I want that 2.5. And
So,
if we go too high,
Yeah.
I don't get anything.
so
That
on
really puts me
proposal
behind
2
it.
though, if they don't pass it, then we don't get anything.
Right, that's, I think.
So
that was
number
the-
3 would be, like,
We could do number 3 as a 2.5
because then we'll
plus a
get the
2.
2.5, hopefully, for sure. And then if they voted on, I just hate to put it out there
Well,
and
but that's the
then,
thing, it's a roll of the dice, whether anything is gonna pass, but I think the 3.5 was a concession because we were giving Dave a heart attack, going above the 2.5, but we were really, as a consensus, wanting to increase it, and so it was, I mean, there's no guarantee anything will pass.
Yeah, that's the problem
Yeah.
too, right?
I mean, we
there's
could
no
put
crystal
2.5
ball.
on there and nothing else and still not get it, I mean,
And you don't know what's gonna happen in the world in the next,
no,
you know.
And in my
6
opinion, I
months,
think it's
15
easier to
months
get
between
one
now.
yes than 2 separate yeses.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about in,
Yeah.
in option 3, is
Yeah.
2 separate yeses on the same topic
Yeah.
is a concern.
Two opportunities.
2 opportunities, yeah.
Gives people the
It
opportunity.
almost
to say,
guarantees,
get the
it
answer you
almost
want, you
guarantees
leave.
that one's
"We're
gonna
not
fail.
doing it." Yeah.
It really does, it
Right.
almost guarantees.
We'll go for the cheaper one, right?
Yes, that's what I would be concerned with too.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, does that give you enough direction?
No, I think it was.
We got a scatter shot there,
Pretty
you gotta, you
clear.
know,
I think we're pretty all on
what I'm
option
hearing
2.
is,
if I'm-
some of us are in favor of some of these, yes, okay.
No, I'm thinking, I'm hearing, look at the 3.5, and that seems like a good compromise to move forward and add something for the community beyond just our reconstruction projects. Obviously, hit the ground, if this is what we want to do, hit the ground running with going out
Get
there,
something
why
done.
we need the extra mill.
Get something
and-
done,
And speak
right.
with them about that. And then in a year, 2 years, as we move forward, discuss, do we want to have a standardized number for the PASER rating for our streets? And then what would that look like? And then, like Nick mentioned, put together a task force to kind of, how do you put that together in a way that the community understands that this is important?
Yeah, we're better off if the citizens.
But
are
that
saying
does
this
keep
is
it in the
what we want.
public, you know,
When they're
consciousness
awareness,
too,
yeah.
I think, you know, and I think you're right, Greg, I mean, this is something near and dear to almost everybody. There are so many streets, that, you know, they all need work, and people have a, you know, they have a different opinion about their street than other streets, you know what I mean? They
Yeah,
all
well, mine's the worst. It
Right,
needs-
and so
it
I
should be
I
top of
do
the
think
list.
that's
Yeah,
something
no
that
doubt.
could be beneficial, just to keep it in everybody's mind too.
Yeah. Okay,
I think we have it, yeah. Thank you.
thank you.
Just real quickly, some updates on some different departments. In public safety, I'd like to thank Chief Kendra Overla. She submitted a grant to the State of Michigan's First Responder Training and Recruitment Grant Program. We were able to receive $87,925. The big thing here is there was $30 million worth of requests and only $5 million available funds. So that was very competitive, so congratulations there. Code enforcement, as we all know, we've been through another transition with our waste hauling, not just the contractor, but the way we do that through carts and for how the large item pickup is done. As we went through the initial transition, we did receive a lot of phone calls here at City Hall, emails. We were dealing with a lot of anxiety for it. I'm happy to report on that side of things, since we're over a month into it, that part of it has quelled and slowed down, which I was hoping that would happen, but that did happen realistically. But making this change has kept our code enforcement official, Michael Carr, very busy. I did ask him to give me a small report from April through June 8th. Kind of give you a feel for the way things looked before we instituted the carts, and kind of where things happened when we went through the change with the carts. In April 1st through the 30th, we received coming into us 4 trash complaints. And then what happens when we receive a complaint? Either a letter is sent to that resident, or there's a visit from the code enforcement official. Once May 1st hit, we had 59 trash complaints that came in. Again, that's 59 letters or visits from the code enforcement officer to go out. But during this time period, that's not the only thing that the code enforcement officer is dealing with is trash complaints. During this time period from April 1st to June 8th, Mr. Carr had 118 enforcement actions across the city dealing with blight, brush, improper parking, inoperative vehicles, of course the trash complaints, and zoning. And again, all these enforcement actions either include a letter going out or a site visit by the enforcement officer. These numbers don't include any follow-up phone calls that Mike has to make, or extra visits that he's making. So, this is just a portion of his duties. He also is the rental inspector, and obviously our goal until we change up our policy on that is to try to get into every rental that we have within the city in a yearly basis. Now, we could look in the future to folks who are doing well, that are good landlords, that they pay their fee every year, but you get to skip a year. Some communities handle it that way, so that would free up some time to look at more code enforcement stuff. But we're working on getting back into all the rentals. Obviously, we've missed 2 years worth of COVID, and then also Mike's one of our first responders on the fire department. So when a call happens, he has to go to that too. So that all being said, I think he's done a lot of good work here in the last month. So I just wanted to pass that along to the board.
Certainly appreciate that work if I could. I mean,
Yeah.
good job, it's a tough job, especially when you're doing a major change like the trash that we went through. I'd be curious, and, he probably doesn't have it included for you today, but was there any type of a theme with those trash 50-some complaints? I mean, or is it all just the bulk of the size of these containers?
Well,
And what was the resolution that after we
Okay,
talked to
gotcha.
somebody, were they okay with it? Are they still angry with us? Do we need to seek some kind of an alternative? Not that I know if there is one or not, but if people remain totally unhappy with it, I think we need to know that. Or if he was able to resolve their concerns, I'd like to know that as well.
Okay.
And then as far as the rental inspections, I thought we talked about that before, and we're gonna go ahead with, if you had a landlord with a good record of good inspections, not necessarily paying the fee, that's secondary, but if you've got a consistently good inspection process, got a landlord that consistently passes with no problems, that's the one we should skip for a year or two and give them a pass, and maybe go to every 2 or 3 years they need to be inspected, if they're good landlords. The guy that's got, and I don't know what the numbers are, but statistically it'll make itself known when you lay the numbers out, where you can make that cutoff. And I would be very much in favor of that. I don't know about anybody else, but I think that's something that needs to be done.
We were heading that direction with
Yeah.
COVID, kind of, because pre-COVID was the first time we ever got into, at least since I've been here, into every single rental.
Yeah.
And then COVID
And that's a
happened.
lot.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
It's
that's just way too much.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you've got good landlords, and we've got a number of really good landlords, and we've got some that need more attention, and it's best that we focus on his attention, the people that need it, to help them be better landlords.
I agree.
So,
Yeah, I can get that for you, but just anecdotally from us here at City Hall, the calls that we do receive now are really about a recycling schedule, because it's every other week,
yeah.
and the large item pickups, because some people are still confused that they need to call in
Yeah.
or submit the form online to have their stuff picked up, and they don't need to put it out, because Granger tells you when they'll be there. They tell you they're gonna be there on a Thursday, they're gonna be there on Thursday, so just that education that please don't put it out on Monday, put your large item out Thursday morning or Friday, or Wednesday night for it to be picked up. So I know that's some of the issue that we're having.
If that's most of them, that's really good results, I think. I'm very pleased if that's.
It's been a major change for,
Oh, yeah.
considering how many staff, seriously, we took a lot of phone calls from a lot of people with a lot of anxiety.
It was a major
Yes,
event
yes,
in
it
our
was,
city, it was, there's no doubt about it. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just said, I think Mike's doing a good job, and we're doing our best to try to keep up on it. Alma Transportation, just within your packet, MDOT has provided funding for the Transportation Department to go out for a needs study and service plan. The RFP will go out on June 20th, and we expect them back. We need them back on August 1st. This study will look at our current system with our current service area and our current bus, number of buses and those sort of things, and see how that works, and if we're doing something well or what's maybe lacking. And then the next step of that study will look at what would that system possibly look like if it was a larger system, i.e. county-wide type system. And that's not something that we decided that we'd want to do. That was something that MDOT said we'd like to see that information. So that's why they're hoping, they are paying for the study. Water distribution, the lead and copper. Just to give everyone an update on that and let you know we are pursuing. We have randomly selected 346 homes to inspect as part of the mandate, and this is a mandate from the state of Michigan to do this. We have currently had 4 interior inspections of properties, and for this week, and we have 12 outdoor excavations. If everything holds the schedule. We have completed 47 additional interior inspections not on our current list from the rental inspections and other miscellaneous visits. So if we have an opportunity to get in some of these places, we do invite it in, we do go in and take a look. Of the 156 property owners contacted to date, we have 49 sites that still need inspection. Of the 49 remaining, 27 have received their second notice by mail and have had at least one door knock, visit, and a delivery of a flyer. Of those 27, 11 have had multiple in-person visits and are due a third and final notice, which may include a notice of shut-off if compliance is not achieved within 30 days. So the reason I'm kind of bringing that up is we've kind of had some discussions about this. We have to do this. So we're asking, please, if anyone's listening and if you have neighbors, please just let us come in, take a look at it. It's quick and easy. We're just trying to verify if there's lead, if there's galvanized steel. That's what we're trying to verify. It's very painless. So the sooner we can get in, the sooner we can get out, we can check these off, and the community can move forward with things. As of 6/6/2022, the project, we are 6% complete. Of the 346 sites selected, as we mentioned, 21 are fully complete. 43 are partially complete. To date, we have inventoried 1 lead service component, 7 galvanized steel services, and 52 copper and plastic services. Now, those are the ones we want to see. We want to see the copper and plastic services. Our current rate of finding lead galvanized steel components is 13.3% of the sites surveyed. Our total number of known galvanized or lead-containing services still in operation is 84. We have currently replaced 2 services this year toward our 5% replacement goal and expected to require another 4 replacements before the end of the year. And those 2 replacements were basically emergency replacements. As we went in to excavate the soil away from the area to look at it, they were in such bad state, the galvanized steel was in such bad state, it just disintegrated. So they had to be replaced, so the residents had water. So that's those two there. So I'm sure we'll find more of those, but as we do these things, we're learning better techniques to get to them also. Wastewater treatments, just to let the commission know that our level of PFAS within our wastewater stream, our sludge, that is taken out. We have to now inform our land applicators that we do have a level that they just need to be noticed of. This has then prompted, through the state of Michigan, requires us to identify any businesses that would have a PFAS component to their processing. And we've identified 60 of those within our community. And so we're in the process of sampling those businesses to see if there's any PFAS within those processes or not. 5 have been completed, and we plan to have 9 more samples going out this week. And those samples are not cheap to do. The cost per those is $400 per bottle. So we are in the process with that, but that's all state man-made stuff, so working through that. Also at the wastewater plant, we had one of our blower pumps go out. And after review of looking at replacement or refurbishing the current one we have, we are going to go forward with refurbishing that blower for the simple fact of costs. And as we look at changing up the system from the gas to the liquid nitrogen, it's going to change up some things there. The new blower may not work on that new equipment. So we're hoping within the next 4 weeks that refurbished blower will be back in, and we'll get that back in service. Obviously, we have a redundant system there. There's a second blower that's working, but you always want to have a redundancy of that. So we're trying to get that back online as soon as possible. And then lastly, good news on the park restrooms. We're looking to have the right restroom and the conservation park restroom completed by the week of the 4th of July. There's still some interior piping and roof work that needs to be done, site work. And then where we're at currently with the Riverside Park restroom, we anticipate that to be all completed by August. So we'll put some usage out of them this year. So.
Oh, boy.
Yes. And I tell you, we should probably have 3 ribbon cuttings because it's been a long time coming for those structures. So, thank you.
Okay, any questions for Eric? All right. I think we had a motion to receive the report and support, so all those in favor would be yes.
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 Any opposed would be no. Motion is carried. We've received your report. Thank you, Mr. Ripley. Next up, we'll entertain a motion to receive the Gratiot Area Water Authority verbal report.
So moved.
Support. We have motion support.
We
Roxanne.
met on last Friday. We had a update on the SLWSR, which stands for St. Louis Supply Replacement Project. They're gonna begin work on well 12 the week of June 13th, which would be this week. Did they get that?
The equipment showed up, we are looking to start by the end of this week.
Oh, perfect. The well abandonment project was awarded to Ward's Excavating, and it's estimated to cost about $591,000. And groundwater monitoring will continue for about a year, and then the GAWA board will determine if they should continue monitoring after the year is up. Grant assistance program for the wellhead protection plan is hoping to get paperwork filed soon. The proposal is on target according to Keith for the project. He looking for some clarification, as always, when doing anything, looking for clarification. Doug, our water plant operator, mentioned that our check valves were replaced a year and a third ago, so like 16, 18 months ago, need to be replaced again. There are some available, but some of the parts were not, or pieces of it were not included. What did he say? Some of the parts are non-existent, so.
Yeah, it's a continuation of the same problem. We don't know if it's a spec'd out valve issue because we keep having issues about every 3 years replacing it. We're looking at the idea of seeing if there's a different style or a different design option so we don't keep losing this stuff.
And then something was mentioned about water
Yeah, the
busting
water
through.
hammering into the
comes-
valve, and
Yeah,
that's
and
what's
then
killing its useful life. Usage should last 10 to 20 years, and we can't seem to get more than 3 out of ones.
so they've been in contact with the engineers and trying to figure something out there. Anything else important?
You summed it up very
Okay,
quickly.
good. That's it for now.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Yeah.
Who has the first question? Stump Roxanne night? No? All right, we did have motion and support on the table, so all those in favor of receiving that report would be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would say no. The motion is carried. We've received it. Thank you again, Roxanne.
You're welcome.
Okay, unfinished business. Consideration of a resolution to approve the designation of the American Rescue Plan funds in the amount of $82,000 for the Elmo Parks Restroom and Rebuild and Rehab Program, authorized by the City Commission on October 25th, 2020. Your pleasure.
Move to adopt.
Support.
Motion support. Any additional comments or questions? I think Eric covered it pretty
We covered it.
thoroughly.
Yes, we
so
did.
a number of times with us, so. All those in favor would be yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed are no. The motion is carried. Thank you. Number 2, consideration of a resolution to approve the request to the Gratiot County Community Foundation for $178,000 from the Herbert H. Luth Endowment, which will be used towards the City of Elmo Park Restroom Rebuild and Rehab Project in Wright Park, Riverside Park, Pine River / Conservation Parks. Your pleasure.
Move to adopt.
Support.
Motion and support, questions, comments? One comment does come to my mind, and forgive me, I know we've talked about this in the past. The endowment given to us by Mr. Luth, does it require a annual setback or build up to the fund to keep it pace with inflation, or can we use everything up to the amount that he was given and all earnings are available for?
We cannot touch the principal.
We can't touch the principal, but there's no saving 10% for, the earnings for future growth. There's no growth to the fund.
I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
I don't. I'd have to check, with
Okay.
Chelsea on that. I'd have to check with Chelsea, but, she sent me the report, this was what was available for us to use.
It might be good to know that, because in my mind, it would be good to set a certain percentage of the income back each year so that the thing continues to grow and maintains, the value of the fund in the town going forward. But that's what happens when we get conservative about things, so. That's like our road millage that used to buy us 3/4 of a mil, now buys us less than a quarter, and we just, okay. So thank you for that. I believe we had a motion on the table. Right? So all those in favor would be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. And the motion is carried. Thank you. And thank you again to Mr. Luth and the Luth family. They were great citizens for a number of years. So a nice gentleman for all of us that did have the privilege to know him during his lifetime. Number 3, continued discussion and review of options for neighborhood street millage proposals. We kind of beat that horse to death, but there's no need for a motion on this, I don't believe. Does anybody have anything they want to discuss further? Okay, we'll move on then. Move down to new business, a presentation on adult use marijuana from Alan Martin of.
Greg, there was a amendment to that.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was an amendment, yes. What was your language on that? It was,
Just a conversation about the interim
Okay.
city manager position.
yes, so number 4 will be a conversation about the interim city manager position. And Danny, you want to take the lead since you made the motion?
I just think, obviously, we had the closed session, which obviously that was an evaluation, so that stays private. But I think at this point, we've all had enough time to make a decision for whether it's for or against. I'm not here to persuade anyone. It's just, I think Eric's done a great job, and I think we've pushed this long enough. And so in my opinion, I think we should look to, one way or the other, look to resolve this as soon as possible, so. No formal motion yet, but obviously I'll look to make one after anyone else has a comment, or I can make it now and we can have conversations about it then, so.
Okay. Additional comments?
I agree.
I just look to remove the interim tag from city manager and make Eric the full-time city manager.
Support. Motion support, okay, and I would agree. I think we've certainly now know what has transpired in the last year and how events have been handled. So is your motion then to remove the tag and I presume
Appoint Eric as the
appoint
city
him as city manager and pursue a contract?
manager. Correct.
Is okay? So any additional comments or questions?
The only thing I'd like to do is actually, if, assuming this passes, Eric, is work with, maybe I can work with you, or you bring something to the personnel committee. I think the evaluation process, it's both formative and summative, right? It tells us where we are, but also where do we want to go. And I think if we're looking at a long-term relationship, I would hope there's some good developmental goals in there. I think like any job someone takes, a year later, you want to be better than when you started. And that needs, I think it can be specific and a conscious choice, a way to take advantage of things we've heard, good and challenging and things to strengthen what you're doing. And I'd like to see that. Just it doesn't have to be a public document, certainly, but certainly something that would say, this is what I learned, and this is where I want to go. Right? Here are the growing edges. Here's the things I think we can do really well. Something like that. And we'd be glad to work with you or something on that. You can get it to the personnel committee or bring it back or whatever you want.
Okay. And I would concur, I think we have seen what's going to transpire, what our future now looks like. I still harbor fear that it looks a little bit like our past in some regards. But that being said, I am fully prepared to support you, Eric, going forward and do the best I can to help you be successful in this position. And, hopefully we can turn the corner on the past and make it a better city going forward. So you'll have my support as best I can give you. Okay? Anybody else?
Here.
Okay, was that your full motion then to get support? Okay.
Correct.
Anybody else? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed to be no? Motion is carried. Thank you. Congratulations, Eric.
Congratulations, Eric.
Okay. Now we'll move down to new business, which is presentation on adult use marijuana from Alan Martin of Consume of Elmo. Mr. Martin.
Thank you for my spot on the agenda this evening, and thank you for taking the time to listen to my spiel once again. I know we were here about a year ago, went over a lot of the same things, but we've moved into the future, and so I wanted to share some information with you guys in regards to Consume, what we're doing, and hopefully be able to build a partnership with the city of Elma and move us along into the future. So a couple things today. I'm really looking to introduce you to our staff.
I don't think so.
Get
Point of
you-
order, I don't think we have a motion to.
Receive it?
Oh.
I don't.
Yes. Sorry to cut you.
My apologies. I didn't get you.
We're just giving you a warm up.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
Motion to.
Okay, we do have support then. Thank you. Please continue. My apologies. My
So,
fault.
a couple things tonight, just to introduce you to the staff, give you a little bit more information about us, the medical market and what it's doing, adult use sales and what they're doing, and what benefits that has for the city, and Consume partnering together to move into the future. Again, just as a refresher, I'm sure many of you remember, I'm Alan Martin, Consume Cannabis Company Assistant Director of Operations, currently overseeing our facility here in Elma. We also have a few others, but we'll get into that in more detail here shortly. There we go. First things first, I'd like to introduce you to our General Manager at Consume Elma, Constance Ewer. We call her Connie. Connie was actually born in Elma in 1968, raised in St. Louis. She went off to the Navy for a few years, returned, married, and raised her family here in St. Louis, or in the county, and her boys actually still reside in Gratiot County as well. Connie attended, I skipped one, nursing vocational education here in Elma as well. And then her family actually owned the bowling alley that used to be down by the movie theater. They owned that for many years. This is our staff. We're currently staffing about 15 at Consume Elma. I'm sure some of you guys will notice some familiar faces in there, but we're hoping to build that as well. So a little bit of background about Consume Elma. We're currently operating at 528 Warwick Drive. We have been since November 18th of 2020. In addition to Elma, we have adult use and medical facilities located in Bay City, Harrisville, Ionia, Lapeer, and Quincy. Elma is currently our only medical-only facility. Again, operations began in late November of 2020, actually November 18th to be exact. Construction started in May. We are the only one to to be fully operational, out of the 3 licenses, and they're still kind of holding off, I really think, waiting for that recreational. We currently employ the 15 total employees, and then a year and a half in business. I'm not aware of any. I don't think we've had any violations, complaints from the city residents or any of our surrounding property owners. And we are community activists. We want to participate. We run drives for the local, we did ACAP, Dallas to the Rescue. I know she's a very big deal, so we raised some things for her in charitable events. We will participate, and we're happy to do that. Just working together with some local businesses, we've been provided some services via local businesses here in the county. We've done a few drives, like I mentioned before. ACAP, we ran it for a few months, and got them some very necessary items for folks. Dallas to the Rescue, again, she was dealing with some struggles, so we really tailored that to what she needed during that time. And then we also did a drive for a local food pantry here in Elmo. Some events that we've put together, food in the parking lot. We've had some great support from some of our sponsors, Hannah Rocks and Gems, Hellman's, Big B of Alma, Twisters, Mancino's, Future Smoke and Vape, Castle Black Music. Thank you to all of those and everyone for their support. Just a little bit on the medical card holder and card holders and what they're doing. It's really started to decline. You'll notice Gratiot County specifically, the top number there. We started out at 431 medical card holders in Gratiot County. We're down to 235. That's less than, well, a little over half, but right around half. We did look at the surrounding communities. I think we all know Mount Pleasant in Isabella County has lifted the cap on their recreational. They're accepting licenses now. So it'll be more than just the 3 that they currently have operational there. We know that we have one coming right down the street here, Fire Island. They'll be opening up soon. And with the medical market in the state that it's in, it's just going to continue to decline. Detroit just went recreational. Traverse City just went recreational. Those are some very large medical markets. And if those cards go away, we miss out on some of that pass-through as well. So, caregivers cards, them are also on the decline. We're roughly half of those as well. Gratiot County had 76 when we started. Now we're at 45. Again, we did the local or surrounding communities, and we're down about 300. Which, I mean, if you take that away every year, before you know it, there is no more market, unfortunately. Some considerations, medical patients only pay the 6% sales tax. That all goes back to the state of Michigan. There is no benefit for the city of Elma. So adding adult use would give us an additional 10% excise tax. That goes back to the municipalities that they operate in, which we'll discuss that later. Security measures and licensing regulations are identical for both med and recreational. So literally it would be obtaining that license. Operations would continue as they do, just with more product. Each facility has the same product, it's just tagged with 2 different tags. So a medical tag versus a recreational tag, that's the only difference in product. Adult users in the state of Michigan are permitted to use marijuana in their homes, and that does include the city of Alma. So by not having the recreational sale, we're really not saving much, I don't believe. Some benefits to the city would be an additional $5,000 per year in licensing fees per facility, and that's each side. So a medical and a recreational each could bring in an additional $5,000 a year in licensing. If you had all 3 of your licenses up and operational with medical and recreational, that'd be $30,000 income for the city yearly as we move through those renewals. Based on 2021 adult use sales, the excise tax collected, $56,400 went to the municipality for each license operating under adult use in that facility. For Alma, that would have been $169,200 had all 3 been in operation, and they would be fairly quickly if adult use was approved here. Then
I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Sorry, and you could use that at the city's discretion. Some of those things that we've been talking about all night long, you know, those lead pipes, the aging infrastructure, the roads, the sidewalks I've heard, the parks, the equipment, I remember discussing that in the past. So this money would be yours to use for those types of things, where you are falling short. Maybe the millage wouldn't be, you know, you can pass that millage and this could help supplement to help maybe lift some of the burden off the citizens of the city. So adult use revenues and projections have already surpassed this year what we were expecting, and 2023 payouts are going to be, I mean, we would expect those to be larger as well. As sales increase, we would expect them to increase as well. New jobs for adult use, we could double our staff easily. We do have Quincy, Consume Quincy, which is in the southern part of the state, very similar community to Elmo. They do have only 3 licenses. They are Meta and Rec, and we currently employ 35 employees at that facility, so it would be nothing for us to bring ours up to here in Elmo to 30. And then if you combine that with the other 2 retailers that there's potential to bring on, you would be looking at increasing, you know, jobs, 50 to 60 jobs within the city. Couple very important things to note on the these 2 reports. Sales to date. Last year, April 30th, sales to date was $861 million. This year, to date, we're at $2,436 million in sales. That's almost triple where we were the previous year. So again, that excise tax, you would only expect that to increase at the same percentage. So that $56,000 per license just jumped 3 times. That's, you know, a decent amount of money. I do want to throw out one other statistic. The whole year in 2021, we were at $1,844 million in sales for the entire year. And again, currently we're at $2,436 million. We've already surpassed that. More retailers are going in, more vendors are supplying on the AU market, and they're coming online, so there's a lot of money out there to be made. Increased consumer base from neighboring municipalities would create a spike in overall revenue for the surrounding businesses. Neighboring property values and businesses would see an increase due to additional business. State regulations permit any person aged 21 or over, whether they're caregiver under the Medical Marijuana Act or not, to possess 12 plants in their residence, and that's in the state of Michigan. On those plants, there's no testing requirements, and there's potential that it would end up on the illicit market. Permitting adult use retail facilities would decrease the illicit market, and it would also replace that untested product with tested product and regulated product. Some concerns that we have as a business, the medical market is diminishing. I mean, we've talked about that. I know we've talked about it a year ago. We're just continuing to see that decline. Municipalities allowing on medical sales are seeing significant losses we are as a company. Consume has invested a lot of time, money, and energy into the city. You know, we came here knowing it was medical only. We put in the time. We built the relationships. We're here. We're happy to be here. We want to be a part of the community, and we want to, you know, work together to move into the future. Unfortunately, due to recent changes, again, we have, you know, a dispo coming right outside of town. Mount Pleasant's opening up. We just aren't able to compete much anymore with our surrounding communities. Availability of medical product for retail or resale has become very limited. A lot of processors aren't even focusing on medical inventory anymore. They're really focusing on adult use. And that's why our medical card, they're declining as well because they're moving over to, it's just easier to go by adult use. So cultivators are seeing that, processors are seeing that, so they're really not putting too much of an emphasis. A lot of people will carry a medical license just to operate adult use. So if there's the 2, they have to have the medical to operate, they'll maintain it,
but they sometimes don't even sell medical product just because it's so hard to come by. And moving in and all that other stuff, it just makes it difficult. Consume has lost a total of $542,000 since we began operating here in Elma. That's approximately $30,000 loss a month. We're sticking with it. We do believe in it. We believe in Alma, so we're looking to move together, on this together. So ultimately, we're not advocating for consumption lounges. We're not looking for public use, or what we're asking for is for you guys to really consider amending the ordinance or creating an ordinance to allow adult use marijuana sales to legal consumers within the city of Elma. Elma remains in control to regulate who and where, even the times that we operate. So that's not leaving, the city of Elma. Mount Pleasant, obviously, we just talked about that, lifted their cap to allow, I don't think they have a cap anymore, so it's just whoever gets approved, and then we'll see what we end up with. And again, with more emphasis being put on adult use marijuana, medical inventory is very, very scarce. So it's very concerning for us here at our Alma location. And ultimately, it's just unrealistic for us to think that we can continue to operate at a continuous monthly loss. So we're asking for the city's help to help us thrive in the city of Alma and move, forward by allowing the adult use sale ordinance to be drafted. So that's all I have. Did you guys have any questions, comments, concerns?
Anybody have questions?
Thank you for your presentation.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I will say, the invitation is still open. I would be more than happy to walk any of you through any of our facilities, just get a hold of me and we'll get something set up. But I'd love to give you guys that tour to see really how we truly operate.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we did have a motion and a support on the table, so those in favor would be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed is no. We have received it, so thank you very much again. Appropriations. Anyone care to pay the appropriations?
Move to pay the appropriations.
Support.
Motion support. Anybody have any comments or questions about any of the items listed there? Hearing none. Those in favor be yes.
Yes.
Any opposed is no. Motion is carried. Commissioner comments. Audra. Let's go first tonight.
No, it's been a big, long night. I can't think of anything. I don't think I have anything.
Okay.
It's insane. I've always got something to say.
Michelle?
Thanks to everybody that did the work for the Back to the Bricks. We had a lot of people downtown, and they were, I stopped into Elm Hardware, and there a bunch of people were buying chairs, and a bunch of people were eating. So I think the downtown businesses saw that. Congratulations to Eric. You'll continue to work hard for our city.
Nick?
Well, usually you're much harder to follow. I don't have much, just pay attention to the weather. So don't leave, keep an eye on your kids in the car and just try to stay cool the next week or so.
Very good. Roxanne?
Thank you for the presentation. I think that, I'm hoping that we're still moving towards the low-hanging fruit of some revenue for the city to benefit Consume and also to benefit the city. Congratulations, Eric. I can't think of anything else. Register your kindergartners.
Already? Didn't school just get out?
That's what I'm doing.
You're
7
just
to
relentless,
5:30
aren't you?
every day, yes. Yes. Relentless, that's me.
Happy to report I have no kindergartners. Danny?
Congratulations, Eric. I look forward to seeing your leadership grow and develop, and if you need anything, just let me know. Thank you.
Roger?
Congratulations, Eric. Very, very much. We're very happy to see this come to a conclusion. We're with you. Thank you to Consume for that very interesting and very informative report. I think we need to move in that direction as well. Gratiot County players Tom and Kate Glover have started their 195th Children's Summer Workshop that they've done for 195 years, I think. They are being very, very adventuresome this year, and instead of just a small workshop, they are putting on Music Man Jr. So, as a summer youth workshop. So they are in production with that now, and I'm not sure what the performance dates are, usually beginning of August, I think. But it will be good. They do a marvelous job with taking those kids into that. A junior means that nobody over 18 can be in the production. So,
Thank you. Sarah?
No, thank you.
Tony?
Congratulations, Eric. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I've really grown to admire you, and this has been hard, I know. And I think everybody had the best interest of the city at heart, but this has been tough, and you have carried yourself with integrity and throughout the whole thing, and I'm real happy to see what happened tonight. That's it for me.
Eric?
No, I just thank you to the commission. I appreciate your support and look forward to working with you moving forward. And thank you to my staff. This last few months have been, it's been a long road.
Oh,
And I really do appreciate everyone's support from the staff. I do appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would congratulate you as well. As everyone's aware, we've had our differences in the past. We'll have our differences again in the future, I'm sure. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But I truly did mean what I said, that I will do my best to support you as best I can and make you successful. And 'cause if you're not, we're not. So we're all in this together. So thank you very much. With that, we'll open the podium to the members of the public. If anyone would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name and address, and you have, I believe, up to 5 minutes to share your thoughts. So who would like to be first?
Hello, I'm Robbie Rodriguez from St. Louis. First of all, congratulations, Eric. That was awesome. It was a little emotional. I'm just tearing up for you. And awesome presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
I just want to say something to that. My husband's a Marine Corps veteran and suffers from PTSD, and he had to go the medical marijuana route for just to calm him down on bad nights. And he eventually had to stop going that route because it was just more work than it was worth it. So for what you're requesting would be much easier, and it's not the stigma that people make it out to be. And I'm not advocating for everyone walking around with you know smoking in public or things like that, but for people like my husband, it would make them feel less like they're doing something wrong and more like they're actually finally they can do something that's helping them without feeling like a criminal. I have some paperwork here for Tony, for the city attorney. This is just regarding two of the city commissioners' oaths of office. They were not fully completed. There were spaces left blank, which brings into the question the legitimacy of their political position. And I've spoken with several notaries, one here, Grash Community Credit Union, someone from the National Notary Organization, and, oh gosh, there's one more. Sorry, I can't think of it. I didn't write anything down today. I wasn't really planning on saying anything. What they said was that it is, you are not to leave anything blank. If an item is notarized and there is a blank space, it is to be rejected. It is not to be accepted by the recorder. And obviously they were accepted. I believe they were overlooked. Because I honestly wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't seen in other oaths that the date was actually there. The date is missing, it's not stamped. But bottom line, and if you look it up, every Google, everything you can find, anything that is left blank should not be notarized. And if it is, it should not be considered a legitimate document. So if an oath is not legitimate, then these two city commissioners may not have actually been city commissioners this entire time. So I'm just gonna pass these down to you and leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. Who would like to be next? Yes, sir.
That's Roseanne, I reside here in the city, 889 Mill Street. On your code enforcement, I understand this gentleman is new, I do not know him. Went around, I bicycle around town and all over, and I see things that really are a detriment in appearance to the city. Example would be across from the hospital, a little bit to the east of there, there's it's structure, it looks like a cardboard box. I don't know what it was, I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's been there for 3 years perhaps. It's sitting there as an eyesore. That is a major thoroughfare through town, people picking up kids from the school, et cetera. I think that is one example. The other one, there's a junkyard out on Superior Street, east side of town. There was discussion like 2 years ago here about something, that there was some resolution on that. Perhaps we don't want to say anything now because we don't want to jeopardize that. It's still there, haven't heard anything about it. That is a major thoroughfare in and out of town. Those are the two of the big ones. Some of the bicycling, the trash, I've noticed a couple of places where one's over, I don't know the street, but it's off of Grover, and it's the first street to the south of Superior. And there's a house that looks to be vacant, and it looks like somebody moved out, and it's been at least 3 weeks. There's mattresses, there's chairs, there's just a pile of stuff up there with the weeds growing up in between it. I don't know, some people don't respond to non-enforcement actions. They just don't, they ignore it. I just wondered, there was this particular place in my neighborhood, was vacant for years. When I questioned a previous code enforcement person, he said that that house was not rehabitable, and they were only waiting until the owner, who was in a nursing home, died. He died, place went up for sale, county sale, for taxes, sold for $5,000. Continued to sit vacant, the grass grew. After a complaint, the grass didn't cut. I don't know if the city cut it or whether who was cutting it. But then somebody moved in shortly after I complained, or they didn't move in, but they started working on the place. And that lasted about a year, and it is now, I haven't seen anybody around. You could add up a multitude of violations with that one house. And that's right, it's not in a good part of town. There's an electrical station right across the street, you know where I'm talking
Yep.
about. And that one, I guess that one's a little more personal to me. I walk by it all the time. And I think that I was told a year ago that the city was only going to go to a certain level of enforcement, and any enforcement action beyond that may involve court wasn't going to happen. And I think if you have, metaphorically, an unloaded gun, and people know it's unloaded, you're not going to intimidate anybody with it. And if the city's position is we don't have the money to maybe have to go to court, we're not going to go any farther, so it just sits there and doesn't get fixed. So those are just my comments I'd like to see. I'd like to see Elmo look as good as it could look. It's not just about downtown, it's about the whole place. Thank you.
Thank you. So perhaps our next meeting, we could get an update on code enforcement, some of those actions. I know
Yes.
there are some things taking place that I've had the opportunity to discuss. And I think there is some activity, at least
Yes.
on some of those
Yes, there is.
issues. I'm not aware
Yes.
of all of those items that were mentioned, but
Yes, there
an
is.
update to the commission would be.
Yep, we can do that. Yep, definitely.
Anybody else like to address the commission?
I'm Mark Blaze, I'm the Public Safety Director here in town. I can give you an update now if you'd like. I'm in charge of code
I didn't want to put you on the spot tonight, though, Mark.
I'm in charge of code enforcement, all of those things. I would welcome you to come visit with me at any time, and I can give you an accurate idea of what's occurring. I met with Mike this morning in relation to the building on Warwick and to the facility down the street on Superior. some actions have taken place to the business on Superior. The special use permit was suspended by us. So there's actions like that taking place, and there's work in progress by all involved. I do also go around town, and there are some people who live in town that have trailers parked in their backyard. That's also a court enforcement violation. But there's so much to do, as indicated earlier, by one person. So that person is working tirelessly trying to get these things done, especially those bigger violations. So this stuff is spot on. So what you failed to mention, but also an issue. We discussed that. So it's just a lot of things that welcome you, like here, including the commission. It comes from any time, especially if you have concerns, because we are working tirelessly to get this things corrected. It's not something, generally speaking, that you get going on. Unfortunately, there's legal action. It's time to go to know we have plenty of discussions going to rectify these things.
And I could just say that I filed a circuit court action relative to the property here now that got cleaned up and stuff. So it's not like we're not doing anything. I mean, I understand that there's people out there that want to see it faster, and I get it, but it's not like we're not doing anything.
Just for clarity,
and I don't know who said anything about you're not ever going to court. That's just not true.
That's absolutely.
We have not taken that position, right?
And because I can tell you that we were there this year. That's not
We've never said something like that. Action is something that, in my department, I'm responsible for, so. Yeah, I've never. That's the case with one of my family. I believe in not working with people. Compliance is our number one thing. If that does not work, then obviously we have to have some teeth and go a little further. So, right now, fortunately for us, with where we stand with all of these locations that we spoke of, the people are at least making small attempts to comply. And based on the past, I think that's an important step. But we have sank our teeth a little in some ways as far as suspension, things like that. So it's very known that we are going to take action this time. So is there any other? I guess it's not time for that.
I guess, Mark, if I could, Mark, because the volume doesn't seem to relent. I mean, we've been working on this for a number of years now. And perhaps it's time, and maybe you could give some thought to, do we need to escalate our fine process and our fines that we're levying? If they're not meaningful to anybody enough to motivate them, perhaps we could give them some better reasons to be motivated. I don't know what the answers are, but that might be something for you to think about. If you're not getting compliance, I agree, carrots first. Let's work with people. If you're a good citizen, you just did something wrong, made a bad choice, clean it up and move on. Because it really is affecting everybody in town. The property values absolutely everyone, whether they're right next to you down the street or even on the other side of town. It hurts every property owner in the city when these things are left to fester. So I'm very willing to support you if you think that would help. And I can't speak for everyone, but I'm sure we'd all listen.
And we've discussed that, and I think that the processes we have going on now, our relationship with Tony and that has been beneficial, so I think at this point we're good. The other thing is to answer some of your questions on the trash earlier. I spoke with Mr. Carr in regards to that, and a lot of it, like the city manager indicated, was rental people, their renters are moving out, they're getting evicted, they're doing stuff, they don't care, they're leaving, so now you're trying to contact the landlord. But again, they're following through with what they're doing and getting these things cleaned up. Sometimes it takes a week or two to find these people and track them down. The other thing is like what he was saying is large item pickup. People weren't understanding that you would think that you would call your large item, it would be on your pickup day. It's not, it's always on Thursday. So if my pickup day is on a Tuesday, I'm putting my large item out on Tuesday. Well, then it sits there in violation until Thursday. So it's education, like you indicated, and those people are being educated on that. So I think that they're minimal issues and things that are being resolved as we move forward. And Mr. Carr does spend a lot of time sending letters, so every day I see him. He said he could have 3 guys working for him on top of fire inspection, dental inspection. It's just, it's crazy. So I do appreciate the input. But if anybody does have questions, I would love to get a phone call so I can update people and listen to their concerns. I find that my list was the same as cars. I drive around, hey, what about this place? Or you have that written down right here. And he actually shows me. So what you see is what we see. So
You just educated me,
Being addressed.
Mark. I was not aware that the large item pickup is always on Thursday, period. I did not know that.
Did you get a letter?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. But I thought it was on the same day as your pickup. So,
Eric, can we utilize our social media a little bit more to get some of that messaging out? Just,
Yeah.
people seem to really share it whenever there's a City of Elmo post, so.
Yeah, of course, you know, I did, obviously, when we have public comment, I didn't want to get it back and forth,
Yeah.
but Mark's correct. I mean, we've been going at those particular locations. The one on Warwick Drive, since we're talking about it anyway, is under new ownership. So we're working with those folks right now of how to best move that property forward with the business, what will go in that location. So things are moving, it's just not fun to do this way, but yes, we'll,
Maybe it's just some educational pieces like you can't have a camper, it's against the ordinance, or, you know, large pickup day is
Right.
Thursday, you know, just some things that just educate,
Did not know that.
share.
And we are appreciating the fact that most people are complying. We spoke with a couple of businesses now that are putting the shading things in their fence, their chain link fence, so you can't see through. You know, just things like that, little things that people don't recognize that are being done to help us and work with the city. And of course, in my department, we're very strict, so if you're not following, then we'll let you know that. But we do like compliance, and that's what we do, so. That's all I had, I'm over 5 minutes.
Thanks.
Well, you're also being interrogated, so. All right, anybody else? Anyone want to be next? Last call? Okay, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn tonight.
So moved.
Support.
Motion support, last chance for comments or questions from the board. Hearing none, those in favor would be yes.
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 Any opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.